Hey guys, so we are starting on a new series. This is the Helmeted series. This is something that I think I'd rather do over mostly other things because it's just I have an interest in doing characters and doing more localized designs that you can really spend time on here. So at this stage here, I'm just taking some scan data, filled it up, or filling it up with a bit of tweaking and just adjusting, and then I'll go over it here with the masking brush and using the extract tool on top, and just finding some new panels that I can start bringing out of the design. I want to see what exactly I can do with kind of the expression of how the helmet kind of looks as overall design. So at this stage, this is the stage where I find out what type of design I'm kind of going to go for and the theme around it. It takes me a while to figure it out because I try and let the work inspire me at times if I don't have an idea before, because sometimes you can just be completely out of ideas, and you just are not I guess it's like a muscle, right? If you work it, you exercise it, the ideas can come to you as you progress on with your design. So I've done that more than once, and I think it's a great way to work. Let your design inspire you. So I'm just going over the face here. I'm using the face as a template. I want to basically figure out what will be the most ideal cut lines, layering effects, just certain construction of how I want to approach it. I really want to just figure that out. I kind of have a rough idea with the construction methodology that I'm using. I've used it on previous designs. It's just an understanding that I've kind of built a style understanding that I'm going for, and I'm mixing it with a new method, kind of more fused, while still having things layered, and trying to mix that kind of strong, layered but dynamic feel for the construction here. Which is really hard to do because it's more intricate work, and more thought has to be put into it. Every little thing that you start to do on a design like this will kind of impact a little bit more as you start adding more details, because the way it's basically what you're working on is, you're making an extended version of your own face, so you have an understanding of that, and you are so used to looking at people's faces that usually they have to be somewhat pleasing to look at or understandable. So what you're trying to do that here, and for most design things, you're trying to make things look understandable to the viewer, even if the viewer doesn't have any idea. It's you kind of like holding the hand of the viewer. You kind of make visual cues, visual understandings that look at this and that's what that could be, or this what that could be. And so you should never really go out of your way unless you really want to alienate your viewer, and that's your purpose, to make them question things beyond a certain thing. I'm just using the curved trifill there, just creating the color. And I'm just figuring out how I want to present this. If I want to, put a type of clothing design around it or not. But really, I don't know where I'm taking it. So I'm just working out the neck there using the extract tool from the masking again. And so I'll start pulling out the eyes at this stage. Try and get the eyes in there. So you can kind of, once you have the eyes, it kind of speeds up the process of what you're doing, because then your focal point is created. So I'm just trying to suss out what I'm doing for the ears here as well. If I want to have ears, and yeah. So if I can do something new and improved on the old human ear, if that's even possible, but some sort of sci-fi version of that. I'm just working little bits of the collar, maybe figuring out some pulling mechanisms, or I don't know, just anything, just to chuck stuff there. You can figure out things as you go. At some point, you probably want to take the scan data away, so you so it might throw you off, because it's kind of it's a bit weird to keep it there when you're trying to design a visual language. You've got human skin kind of just clouding your judgment at times. So you want to, at this stage, you could probably, well, soon, but not just yet. You could take it away once you get the overall panels and all that extracted, because you won't need it anymore. You can keep it in the scene. So say if you want to actually build this round scan data and print it, have it used for a actual real life prop, you can you can reference it back and adjust it. I've done that in the past for a few clients now, where you build around scan data and you can build the whole design on that. So it will fit the real life person. Here I'm just trying to figure out how I want all these little parts to sit, and how I want to start growing the panels. There's only basic brushes here. I'm not using anything fancy. You really, to be honest, a lot of these brushes, just a standard brush, really, a bit of polish and smoothing. You kind of want to rely on just really basic brushes to start here. Form. It doesn't need anything fancy. If you want to build it like this, I guess you could go in and do some kit bashing and stuff like that, but you're going to produce a result that is produced as such. So it's going to look slightly kit bashed. It just depends how you want to go about it. Every method has its ups and downs, so it depends what you want to do. There's no wrong or right, but if you want the most kind of honest and genuine result, there's nothing like starting like this, because you're completely doing it from scratch. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do for those ears. I'm still not sure. Yeah, really just go crazy if you if you're stuck. Just kind of push things in the direction that you wouldn't naturally push them. Kind of fight those emotions where you have it like set to an automatic thing because you've designed something like that previously. Here I have designed a design like this, and I like it enough to build upon it, but also try and get away from what I've done previously. I always tend to put in these kind of neck things or something like that. You don't have to. I think I always like the V in the neck. I'm not sure what that muscle's actually called. you tend to try and complement the human form in some way, because then it has a relatability. I mean, you don't have to. It really depends what you want to do. Anything goes. You can make a helmet that looks completely different and still can still be really good. There's so many ways to approach a design like this. It's just the balancing of it. Like you would say, like if you were to deliver this design looking a bit like this, and you were to add some more detailing in that and clean up some of the edges and make them connect, it still wouldn't look good, because there's so much micro adjustment and marrying of other details and flow details and all that. You could, if you just started slapping on some details on top of this and kind of cleaning up the edges, it would it still wouldn't work, because I know with the forms that I have here that I could balance them more and more, where the design still looks and resembles this form and the paneling and the layering effect that I've used. But if I put more work and time in realizing that, it will really start to sing. I just pull and I'll just look at that and see how that looks. I'm not going to keep it, but I'll pull things out and see how they go. I test things out and I pull it and I end up just tuning it right down. It looks aggressive, but you'll see more and more later that those shapes kind of the big shapes where I've really pulled things out, I will tune them down. Kind of looks like the Joker's mouth. Oh, that was a nice ZBrush crash. I had about 20 of them working on this thing. You should be careful when you're extracting and pulling meshes like this. The meshes can get really dirty, and so that will crash ZBrush. So you probably don't have to save, but once you start modifying the meshes and deleting certain parts of the meshes and then remeshing, it then can crash ZBrush, and it won't crash ZBrush, it will cause ZBrush to hang. And so you just got to be sure to save before you get those hangs, so you can adjust the mesh and you need to adjust it to a fixed mesh or whatever you need to adjust on it. Sometimes you can set the resolutions too high, and then it will just hang there. So you got to be careful when you redynamesh; it can get stuck. So that's some pretty basic thing if you haven't worked with Dynamesh much. Here I'm just trying to figure out the back of the neck, how that neck area gets covered. I find doing necks are quite difficult. I never had an easy time. Just the way you have to layer up panels, because it moves. Especially if you're doing some rigid paneling, it's just a bit of a nightmare. Look at that thing. Yeah, the most weirdest smile or kind of facial expression is being built upon that thing. I definitely will kind of tune it, but I know it doesn't look great, so I'm constantly working that nose, because that nose looks a bit too much like a nose. So I'm just trying to find out, how can I keep it looking like a nose, but not go in the opposite direction of making it completely different. I still want to bring in some human forms here, and because I want this thing to look more dynamic in its form. Hence the helmeted, it's kind of like melting into the form of the human, which is this type of this is way harder than, say, if you were to do a really rigid panel construction, that that would be much easier, because constructing this with all these round intricate detailing, it's really hard to marry that. And the thing is, you can get away, well, you kind of have to put more into it if you are blending more of the forms and the edges together. But I want a mixture of the two. If I can get that, it would be tricky. There's just a lot of finessing here. It's a pain in the ass. If you don't have much patience, you are going to have a hard time. Just using the clip brush there, cylinder clip. Trying to figure out how the top of that helmet kind of intersects the front of the panels there, front there, the brim, or the frontal forehead area. So I'm just trying to figure out what I want to add. I was thinking maybe I add lights or something, but I'm like, nah, I don't want lights on this one. You can go over the type of things. There's always certain little assets you can build upon. Here I'm just trying to figure out if I can add an edge somewhere, or how I want the panels to sit on top of one another. It's still all up in the air. Yeah. Another crash. I try and pause the video before the crash so it doesn't get included, but it's not always possible. You can tell when the ZBrush is about to crash, and I just pause the video. I'm just trying to figure out little intricate details. I want to just get it's a bit of a it's kind of like a just a framing, like of the structure there. Just certain frames and panels, and if you ever pull anything apart, and a good example is if you look at a motorbike, it has panels and framing and construction, and you just reference life, right, and you just kind of inject it into your designs. And then you have an understanding of something without having an understanding, because you've seen a motorbike, but you don't really understand how everything is made on a motorbike. But you've seen it, so you understand a motorbike. So you kind of then, looking at this thing, you understand that, and this is why the whole reason photo bashing works so well, because you take elements of real life and bash it, and you've got realistic lighting on top of elements you've subconsciously seen out about or on the internet. So you have this assumption now, well, that's real, that could have a plausibility of being real, and it's kind of like that cheap trickery of the brain. So I don't think photo bashing has much respect, purely because of that, because it is a cheap and effective way to do it, but it's exactly that, it's a bit cheap. So I think if you did photo bashing, you really rendered the shit out of it and you polished it, then it's great. But if you're just photo bashing and using photo sources and not really giving it much effort, it's a bit cheap. I'd say it's more than cheap, it's slack. So it's real slack. You have a job to do. You should be at least refining your photo bashing artwork, if you want to call it artwork. So there's a fine line between what's art and what isn't these days. So it's why a painting, an oil painting, will always have its value over something even just digital. Even this doesn't have its value because it's digital and you can undo it. So digital art just doesn't have as much value as other art, because it's I can undo my mistakes, and you can undo it on a painting, but I can really just undo it to my heart's content, and so it takes the error out of it, and the mastery is slightly taken out of it. Here I'm just tuning the neck and trying the panels. I think it's why 2D art still has its there's a higher respect, I feel, for 2D artists who are really, really doing it well and rendering their artwork really amazingly. It just seems like it's it's something that you really have to master. I think with 3D work, it's you have to master it, but I think you got room to make a lot of errors, and let the hardware and the software make you look good. But I guess everything has its own place, right? So here I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do with the forehead. It's kind of looking a bit like a devil. It's not my intention. I guess in a way it's a bit like drawing. Maybe I guess, I don't know, maybe I don't really respect the 3D work as much as 2D because I've spent so much time in 3D, and you kind of have that really biased opinion. Maybe a 2D artist can look at this stuff and then think otherwise as well. There is a very judgmental opinion of ourselves and how we perceive ourselves, and we attach things to that, and perceive the world like that. Well, view the world as we view it through our own emotions and ideas, and think other people think the same, and we can be completely wrong. You can have judgment, but you should never push that judgment upon others. It comes out where you can sit and critique people's work, because if you think you wanna have an honest opinion, give them an honest opinion, you should do it. Some people don't like to critique artwork, and I don't know. I think you should do what you just don't be an asshole, really. Give an honest thing without having your you're not critiquing someone's work. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. It's just basically I use the alpha brush, that in ZBrush. You can find them there. It's just one of the alphas that I use. That's a stock standard in ZBrush. So I'm just like start placing little, and the alpha tool there. Using that alpha is just to place a shape. I'm still not going to go over the design and place a bunch of alphas at this stage. I want to really rely on the forms of the forms that I want to kind of inject with just using the basic tools. When you work with a restricted tool set, you oftentimes produce a result that is consistent. So if you were to produce, go on here and slap a bunch of alphas on and produce a result, it's basically consistent with that approach. And so I don't want to deviate from the approach I'm going with, and I want to work as much in the free form and just the standard pen, polish. I use the bit of inflate, enlarge. What else am I using? I don't even think I'm using many of my brushes here. I start using my brushes towards the end where I know I'm more confident with the overall forms. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do for the back of the head. Quite happy with the back of the head there. It's basically just polishing, and like the back of the head there, I just go in, and if I think of adding a round detail, I just try and add that in, and stamp it on there, or polish it with the polish. And you don't have to be neat here, because you can always go back in and neaten it. If you approach these designs as I've got to really be neat and tidy, you're going to get like that kind of you get a bit scared of kind of going attacking the design. And if you get that kind of fear in you, you kind of restrict your design. I don't know if you could call it a design philosophy or whatever, but you're restricting how easy you want to attack the design. I'm just kind of pulling out the panels and the layerings that I've built. I've built a few layers here, so yeah, I have a fair few layers. It's not abnormal for a design to have, something like 400 plus subtools or more. I wish ZBrush could handle more and more subtools without it crapping out. So, I wish it would. Wish it would be at that stage where things would. We got that improvement in ZBrush moving to 64-bit, but I wish there was another jump in the speed of ZBrush. That would be just amazing. But yeah, all patience, right? Yeah, I'm just kind of like polishing a bit of polish on there, making it a bit more rigid. Just pulling the panels around it. It's kind of like a skeleton for the face, exoskeleton kind of thing. Not quite, just a bit of framing. Yeah, I'm just sussing out what I want to do for the mouth. I want some type of mouth area, which is really hard because making a mouth on a helmet is often a shitty thing to try and attempt. Yeah, I'm just trying to see how. I just want all these little intricate details to marry each panel now. Just trying to build up some slight detailing, use the standard brush, go over it quickly, polish it out. A lot of times I just go over that and seeing if I can make it a bit square up there or rounder. Like, you can go any direction, right? It's really just what you're feeling and what type of design philosophy you're going for. If you want this like sleek design or like a really tough design, you're basically, it's whatever you're feeling at the time. You might not want to layer your design like this if you want a real sleek design. So, but I want a bit of a mix of the two. I think for the Warriors of the Future, I made a helmet that's kind of more sleek. It's all a bit more like one. There's not much layering going on. It's all just like fused, locked in panels. It's a bit like M.A.N. It's kind of like that type of construction. So there's a lot of different ways you can approach it. Having the kind of the effect where you've got some depth to the design, or no depth to the panels, where each panel doesn't kind of like flow from one panel to another. It might be a layered, like a bit of a subtraction from the next one next to it. Positive or negative, which is a good way to build up form, which is the way you should be building up form. You got negative space and positive space, so it just hanged for me there, so I'm sorry if I missed out any commentary. Yeah, I'm just pulling out more of the paneling from there, the temple area. Here now I'm getting a better idea what I'm going for. Kind of reminds me that with the eyes like that, kind of reminds me of some of the old Nazi generals with the helmet like that, which is something that I don't want to go for because it kind of reminds me of a kind of a professor of some kind from the German army. Which is, whenever I get those feelings and emotions, I want to tune that out of the design. I have to try and figure out that, I think at one point the mouth starts to look like a cat mouth. So it looks like a cat, and I want to make sure I kind of, you don't want the mouth to look like a cat if you don't want the design to kind of resemble that. So you're trying to figure ways out of tuning that out of your design while keeping the old fundamentals in place. You want to keep the old fundamentals there. You see this stage here, you have a lot of fundamentals that you're building. The way the forehead looks, the way the temples look, the way the mouth and the nose look. These are fundamental things that you're building upon that you want to keep there till the end, because if you change that, you're just changing the whole design, right? And so it's a new design. So I did that along with the Stingray because it wasn't my design I started for the Stingray. I took that from a friend, and so when you do take someone else's thing, you're probably trying to morph it into something else, and that's what happened. And plus the ideas of what I wanted changed, but I know exactly what I want here. So I want a helmet. So the blueprint of what I'm laying down here is the blueprint that I want to keep roughly to the end. There's some things I can change, but it's a blueprint. You want to follow the plan, otherwise you're going to have to keep redoing things and adjusting things, because once you build up the blueprint for the overall form is what works, right? The overall form is what is working. So if the overall form is what works and you go in and then change the nose, then the overall form has to accommodate for the new nose. So you don't want to work like that, right? So you want to keep your blueprint intact. Or you call it a concept, but the concept is a very loose thing still. So you're designing a concept here which will eventually turn into a more structured design. Here I'm just trying to figure out any little gadgets I can put on the helmet. Like like a lever or a little switch, or like if you ever look at like you have little knobs or whatever, just little things like that. These are really high tech. It's a high tech helmet. Might have a switch to turn something off, or a fail-safe switch, or like something where you want to change a part, or actually open up the whole structure of it. So you want to think about how one would then work on something like this. Here I had a weird idea where I don't know why I did it, but I took it like maybe he's has a bald helmet. How people go bald and lose their hair from the top. So I was like, maybe I can do like a bald hairline, but I took it away. But it was just something stupid. It's just me taking elements from everyday life. I think you can kind of see it around there. But I just inject them onto my designs. I'm just trying to find out how all these little panels sit. It's a big pain in the ass. I hate these stages sometimes, but I always love doing helmets. So I tend to enjoy doing helmets. I think I hate doing robots. I think robots are a big pain in the ass. There's lots of little strict forms that need to fit and work and function, and I think I don't know. I think you got certain ways of building robots that are probably easier, but I never seem to do it that way. I don't know why. Just trying to think of like, kind of looks like a bit of a, you get those brims on the hats. Just trying to figure out how, kind of look like he's wearing a hat at the moment, like one of those little short hats. I'm not sure what you call them. I'm just moving my table. Sorry for the inconvenience. But yeah, just need to sit down for a little bit. So I'm just figuring out what to do around the nose area, how I want the construction and the kind of the panels to have a sort of rigid, reinforced quality in certain areas. You know, you can imagine if you want to build something like this where you have to reinforce structural elements of the panels so they're stronger when, you know, if they were to take a hit or some sort of blow. Here I'm just adding some basic alphas that are in ZBrush there. And just, I'm not really setting out to make some really good eyes. I'm just trying to give them a bit more focal. Just trying to suss out what I want to do there. And again, that's just the standard ZBrush alpha. I use it a lot. There's a reason why these are in ZBrush, because they actually are quite handy. And it's not because someone just randomly placed them there. It's just an accumulation of information that they've kept there because they probably use them themselves a lot to do little things. Could have been random, who knows? But I know I don't use them in that super random fashion. Always I have a use for the real basic alphas, like the square and the cylinder, and like I think there's a sphere effect where it kind of you can see there. Use that as an indent effect for making little holes that are kind of oval in shape. I don't use much Boolean stuff. I don't really see the point of it. I'd rather keep my forms nice and loose and use another application for that, because I think I just never really liked working with ZBrush in that fashion. It would be nice if ZBrush worked a little bit more like another application where you could manage your booleans and manage your subdivision, use subdivision tools much more efficiently, because I find them rather slow. So I still use XSI, and I've been looking at using Maya for subdivision modeling. I'm not sure which what I'm going to use, either Maya or XSI, which they're all still the same. All subdivision modeling is all the same, so it doesn't matter what tool that you use. It's just what you're most efficient at using it. Here I'm just trying to suss out the construction of the eye. It's kind of like a square shape that I'm using there, four-sided, but then I've pulled out the four sides and tried to make something different there. Kind of insert into a cylinder shape, or square shape into a cylinder, just to make something unique, really. Trying to think different, right? So you can always just make something round and fit, and I'm just tuning the front of the part there, because I think doing that type of detailing at the front of the eyes is tricky, because it gives an expression, and so once you start tweaking that, you tweak the expression of it, right? So like if I came up to your face and tweaked your eyebrows, it would tweak whatever expression that you would be giving me. So this is very much the same thing. So you're tweaking the expression of the face here. You're tweaking the expression of the helmet. So it's going to emote things to you. You know, you can make it look angry. You can make it look sly. You can make it look happy. It really depends what you want to sell for this thing. And that's what design is about, right? So it's kind of like if you designed a car that looked like really nice curves and really voluptuous, it kind of reminds you of a really voluptuous full woman, right? So here I'm just assessing what to do with the chin. Just trying to figure out that chin area. I'm just pulling it out using the masking and the gizmo, the old gizmo. Yeah, I like to use the old gizmo a lot and just mask out areas and blur it and pull it out, and you could use the move tool to do that as well. just figuring out if there's a bit of an edge there, using the polish on top of that. There's a little bit of alpha work, but I'm not married to doing too much there. I'm just start putting in some little bolts here and there, just testing it with lighting now. You can see I did a little lighting test to see how some shadows work within the panels, and how much depth I'm building up here, and if there's too much, things look too deep, the eyes look maybe too sunken. So that brush is what is it? I can't remember his name. It's M.A.N cut brush. Yeah, it's a guy in ZBrush that released a tool. I'm not sure why I use that, because I have my slash brush. I actually forget about my brushes that I make at times, and just because I'm not too strict on my brushes. I use them if I need them, but I use whatever's there. You can sit and make your own brushes. You could use a slash brush for creating panels, but you might need to tweak it a little bit. Just get the settings right there. Another crash. Ooh, alright. So this is a different step. I don't think I've ever done it before. I've done it in a different fashion, but this is a new and invented fashion for this video. Previous work. So what I've done here is merged everything back together. So everything's been merged, and now I'm just going to town and just attacking it. And with all the panels merged, everything that I've created, just attacking it and trying a bunch of different things on it. Clip brush there, and just pushing and pulling little bits. So everything is merged, right? Every panel is all together. So that's why everything can be tweaked, and you want to keep your groups. So once I'm done with this stage, like tweaking it and just polishing it, using the polish brush and going over it, and you can see I'm just doing anything. It looks like Mickey Mouse ears. I'm just trying anything here just to see, what I can take the design to. And you can see it just looks a bit ridiculous, right? It looks stupid with those Mickey Mouse ears. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? So but I'll just take them away, build up areas. So I'm kind of really trashing the design in this essence of going over it and tuning it. I wouldn't say trashing, but I'm trashing the strictness that I had before. Because before I was quite strict. I was building form. I was being really neat. But now I'm just going over it and just washing over it. Just washing over all the details. Trying a bunch of new things here. So it's all still merged. It's one subtool here with the human scan underneath. So that's why I can go over everything here and just use some polish brush and the H polish brush, and just use a standard brush, and you can use some of the tools I've put on my Patreon. And I'm just going over it, and you can see that I'm tweaking the forms. Not sure if you can hear that table. I have a self-raising table. Robot table. Alright. Okay. I'm still going over the forms. Everything's still merged. Figuring out a bit more depth to the design. You can see how it really starts coming together. And just I'm attacking it with the polish brush. Polishing some edges. Finding it, looking around it, finding the profile. I always like to put a good profile on a design. So 3/4 view, you want to, and the front view is quite hard to nail down. People front on it's quite hard. To make things look good front on is another task. You really be really symmetrical. It's because it's symmetrical as well. There's a reasoning behind that. I think we're so used to looking at things that have an asymmetry to it that when we look at things that are symmetrical, we kind of get put off by them. if they're perfectly symmetrical, perfect. There's a little looks a bit weird at times, but you can get that to work. Don't worry about it. Here I'm still just going over it. See, I'm still thinking it looks like the scan data underneath. So the kind of the posture of the scan data. So yeah, and I don't want it to look too human in its posture. And I think most people have rather crap posture, and that scan data has a pretty bad posture. So bad posture is not an attractive thing to look at. So you should, consider that, right? He's a bit forward with his chin, so I know all about posture. If you want good posture, you should use your be balanced on your feet. Your front toes and heel need to be balanced, and your hips are slightly pushed forward with your chin tucked and your shoulders back. So you shouldn't slouch, because it can really screw your back up. That's the problem with sitting. If you sit, it will cause you to be tight, and you indirectly get a forward head posture where your chin is out, and that's really detrimental for your health. It can even cause bad vision. So if you have bad eyesight, your posture is probably to blame, along with squinting too much. And just straining to read things, because you've strained the muscles in your eye, and they change shape over time. So a lot of things that you believe are normal are completely not normal. You are meant to see. The human eye is meant to work as a muscle that just works. It's bad eyesight can be genetic, but you can fix your eyes if you're given a lot of time, which is fucking difficult. I've had bad eyesight my whole life, and I've slowly recovered my eyesight, and it's all linked to posture and squinting. So I have a lazy eye. I used to squint it a lot, and it caused the shape of the eye to change. But so here I'm just tweaking and trying to find some cut lines inside there. If you guys have a flat foot, you can or flat feet, you can rebuild the arches in your feet. You just gotta start using your feet correctly. You shouldn't be standing like a duck. You should be standing with your feet pointed forward, and walking like that, and running like that, and evenly distributing your weight, and not walking on your heels. It's always you're going to walk on your midfoot. If you guys have any feet problem, you guys need to just assess that. So I've had to assess my whole body, because I spent years of my life sitting, and I completely ruined myself doing that. I popped 2 discs, but that would have happened no matter what, because of the genetics that I was given. You can be born with shitty genetics, but you can actually improve them. The human body is an amazing thing, so you should never give up on yourself. We're constantly evolving within ourselves, so it sounds a bit fanciful, but you need to give yourself more credit. Everything is a process. This is why I go on about that. Alright, so I've decided to delete the ear, I think, at some point. I'm getting that antsiness to delete it, because I'm not liking it. I think that's one of the things that it just looks a bit stupid. So I'm going to try and pull out a type of form of an ear. I want to still have a relatability to that, what I had there. Try and design something. I found out later on in the other video what I want this design to be, which I'll tell you. Again, I seem to attack that nose, pull it down, and because I fucking just like, what can I do with the nose? The nose pisses me off. It's pissing me off. Like, I just keep looking at it. I'm like, it's this stupid nose. But I'm overthinking it, right? So I'm trying to find some magical design that looks fucking awesome, and I'm going to be happy with it. But at the end of the day, it's like more of a kind of marrying of the smaller details here. Just trying to use that, what is it, curve pinch brush with the dragging it along the design, see if I can find some cuts. Again, I think all this stuff is still merged, I believe. Is it merged? So there's 4 subtools. So yes, it's all merged. So I can still just go over the whole thing and yeah, just drag that curve pinch brush, see what I can get. I really don't use it much. It's not something I used much in the past. You'll design a certain style. I think Warframe has that kind of style where it probably marries well to that. They should probably be using it on their design. Their designs actually they work really well. Their stuff's pretty cool. There's still a little bit. The Warframe stuff has got some little bit of predictability that I think they could probably take out of their designs and get a bit more uniqueness in there. So it's just to make it really original. But their stuff's really cool. I like it. I'm quite picky, so if I'm going to critique things, I'll critique them very, very strictly. I'm sure people critique my work and I could not care, because we're all here, we're artists, to critique each other. It's a fun game at the end of the day. It's a funny thing that we do. I think we should just never be cruel and mean to each other. That's that's a pointless emotion to have. Kind of aggression and stuff like that, it just gets you nowhere. Being kind of negative in that way, and it doesn't really do you much. So here I'm just trying to figure out the ear. I want the ear of some sort of kind of thing that looks like you could maybe ramp up hearing. Here I'm just testing the lighting. I still think I want to be able to maybe make this wearable if I were to print it one day. Well, actually, I do want to print this, so I actually want to print it and sell it and paint it and make it real cool. I want to make some high quality helmets. I want to make really high tier prints. So there's a big market emerging for the printing stuff, and I kind of want to be a part of it. I'm probably going to buy a printer at some point, and then I'll start printing. And I think I'll probably print these and mold them up and paint them myself. I think that would be cool. And at some point I can hire some people to do that for me, and get some. I want to get a real good quality IP going. Here I'm just kind of like, it's got a bit of there's a bit of skull structure there in the cheekbones, relating to the human form in some way, which I've probably done way too much there. I've just like carved in a big edge, carved in a big thing there. I believe I might have used my fold, the fold tool, the fold detail that I have. I probably carved it in. So at this stage I start to use my some of my brushes. I like to use the fold one, where it kind of produces an interesting random effect at times, but it's a bit dirty, so you still have to go in there. Like, you could probably achieve that with the standard brush. I think I'm testing what that looks like there. See, I'm going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm just seeing how that makes me feel, right? How do I feel with pumping up the cheeks? So a lot of times here I'll have multiple, I have iterations of every day that I will save a file, and then or multiple ones in the day where I think I might change the design too much and I want to go back to the old one, just to see it or take some parts from it, and just to know that I'm on track in the right direction, that I haven't like gone over a detail like, oh, that was a really good detail, why did I change it, right? Because it's very easy to do that. It's very easy to get caught up in the design process and lose something like that. Here I'm just like tweaking a little bit more, just going over it, tweaking it. A lot of tweaking, adding bigger forms, smaller forms, marrying the smaller details with the bigger details. Trying to figure out what I want to do there, push it in, what do I want to do. Yeah, it's basically, I want to pull that out, make something there. Yeah. And then it starts looking like ears. This is the problem when you add things like lights and stuff. If you look at my old infiltration unit, there's some little tiny lights on top of the head, right? I actually made those, I wanted them to light up, but when I actually made them light up, they looked a bit silly and a bit ridiculous. So with that, I kept them there, but I just didn't make them illuminate. So, and yeah, there's certain. I only made the eyes illuminate because I wanted to bring the viewer into where the eyes were. And that's what that direction was with that design. So, which is an easy thing. That's what you want to do, right? So it's something that looks like a face. It is quite hard to add a type of helmet, like a helmet light here on this design without it looking a bit goofy. You probably want to like intersect it. You probably want to place it around the temples. Placing things around the temples it's not going to look like an ear, but as soon as you start trying to place it on the top, that's kind of like Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse has these ears on top of his head, so then you have you've seen that somewhere, and so you kind of relate your design to something else, and so you're trying not to make it look like certain liabilities to whatever intellectual property, or just like an animal. If you don't want it to look like a certain animal, you don't do that. Here, it looks like he's angry. He's got a big thing there. So I'm trying to find an expression here. Now I'm adding some form of expression that I want to go for. It still looks pretty shit to me because it looks a bit like an old man where his face is dropped. So the proportions of how long his face is, it looks like it's too long. Oh yeah, that's right. Your face can drop if you have incorrect tongue placement and posture for your neck. So your tongue is responsible for holding up your face, essentially. So if you have really bad tongue posture, your face can drop. So you should look it up. It's called mewing. It's basically a thing. You keep your tongue in the right place, and it reinforces your whole skull and helps your posture. It's a funny thing. So I'm just assessing what I want to do. Thing is, there's a lot of times where I kind of get, I don't know what I'm always doing, so I'm just looking at it here and there, looking at it left, right, and just spinning around it. And sometimes, I literally have to procrastinate with something else, go on the internet and look at something, and then look at it, right? But you don't want to completely lose track of what you're doing. I need to look at something else just for a little bit. I get to a certain stage where it's not a true procrastination. I'm not procrastinating for the procrastination's sake. I'm procrastinating because I want to refreshen my mindset, right? So I'm look at something else, look back at it like that. I will just realize what I want to do because I've just kind of refreshed my mindset. Sometimes you just got to look away from your design, look away, and just come back and that will look better, because you always you get that in your head and you're saying, well, that's all you see. It's like if you play a computer game for all day, right, and you go to bed and you dream about the computer game. It's a bit like that in your mindset. So you kind of want to refresh it before it gets stuck. And sometimes you can I guess maybe that's what happens with other people when they don't see their mistakes. Maybe they're not training themselves to look away and refresh their mindsets. Maybe their brain works differently, but I know that's how mine works. So you can see all the groups there, all intact. I'm still working on that one mesh. Well, there is two meshes, but it's one mesh. You can see that, this is quite a while now that I've worked with one mesh and just tuned it. And just allows for a nice flexibility. So because with ZBrush, you can't just grab certain subtools and tweak them. You have to merge them together. Here, I think it's definitely looking a lot more little structures there. And it's definitely looking more structured. I'm a bit more happy with it now. It still looks a bit like an old man with a sunken, dropped face, but I'll see. I'm starting to look how that was and going through them. See how it kind of picked up the face. Yeah, just you can see the differences between those two. I still have the fundamentals there, but they're improved. I'm just still looking around, seeing what to do and do. I think maybe in the mouth area. I'm not too sure. I'm just trying to suss out just the general shape, little things here and there, because I've still got the mesh as one. So I'm just seeing what if I add certain elements in the one form. Like I think maybe add a vent here. Just some sort of ventilation, but I'm really unsure about that because I don't want to make it look like saggy cheeks. You know, you kind of you have certain emotions and things like that. People would look like saggy cheeks. Or maybe I'm obsessing about this old person look too much. But yeah, I'm just kind of going over it and adding in just little forms that I can see if I can get away with, right? Seeing what I can do, but I don't want to make it too convoluted. I don't want to, like, I could make so many little interesting details and that sit in micro details that go into these details and that details, but it just confuses the person too much. But you can make those designs work, but they take a lot of work because it's just the way they might not work, but I have a different assumption with what works and for myself. So here I'm just trying to figure out, yeah, I think the head's looking a bit too wide, a bit too fat up top. So I'm just, going over it and, just seeing what I can do with the areas that's, while everything's still together, I want to kind of, you want to get the most out of this stage where you've merged everything. You don't have to merge everything. You really don't. This is a new method to me. I'll probably merge things later on in other designs, and because sometimes you can still have the design all together, and you don't have to even merge anything back because you haven't broken it apart or built it up like I've built it. So I've just tested earlier. I tested the lighting there just to see. You should just test the lighting. I have the render button hooked up to a hotkey. So you guys suggest you guys have a hotkey. Have a hotkey to the render and have a hotkey to a lot of little things on ZBrush to make your efficiency go much further in working. I think that's a good thing about. I know I have to speed these videos up, but trust me, they will take forever to get through because I'm going at a slower pace of thinking. There's no point in showing that really slow pace. You might as well just see that slightly sped up pace. You can still see my actions. I'm still explaining my actions to you, but I'm sure I'll be clicking away like crazy on the keyboard because I have a lot of hotkeys. Here I'm just testing different angles now with the lighting. Just umming and ahhing here. I'm just like, I'm constantly doing that. Like, what does that detail look like? Oh, it's a little small detail. What does that look like from a distance? What about that one? What about that, right? Did I fuck it up? Because you can add, like that just fucked it up, right? I added two of them and it just looked repetitive. So you can fuck up a design at any stage by just having something repetitive or just wrong placement for something. I think this is stuff that people don't talk about. I haven't heard anyone talk about it, but I haven't watched anyone else. I guess I could be totally missing the boat on that. Here I'm just trying to look at all the little understandings of what I've come up with and how I can then assess them in the way like, all right, yeah, it's fair enough that I made these details, but now how the fuck do they sit together and actually work logically? Because the concept is the concept, right? Now you need these things to actually be. I need to actually make them work, and because that's it's not a fantasy mech. It's a mech. It's in a real life kind of like, well, a machine's put this together or it's been kind of made. So you have to put that type of common sense into it. Well, now I'm adding a mouth. I have no idea what to do with the mouth at this stage. It's something that I'm kind of leaving to the last minute. Because as soon as you add a mouth, you add an expression in some form. So I'm adding a bit of depth there. It's like a big tear. But, I've tried and add, because, look, that could be like a tear effect on a person, right? But when they cry and the corner of the eye, the tear rolls down. It's kind of like pulling that emotion. So you're like, whoa, is the helmet crying now? It's a bit of a funny one, right? So adding certain little emotion things that you can actually soften up how you feel for this thing. See, it looks like its mouth's kind of glued shut now, and it's kind of like doing that effect with its mouth. So I want to change that. But I think I am about done. So guys, I'm going to leave it here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I will be doing the next video tomorrow. I'm just, these take forever to do. So yeah, I will get the next one out because I've already got it. I just need to sit through it and do the commentary. So hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, ask me on my Patreon. All right, guys, take care.